been as thrilling as watching a T20 cricket match. The BJP has won both the states of Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh. The surprise was the fight that the Congress put up. Not a surprise to many, some would say. Leads are in for all of Gujarat's 182 seats. The BJP now leading in more than 100. The majority mark in the Gujarat Assembly is 92. The Congress is leading in 70, more than 70 seats. That's a gain for the party, which had 61 earlier. This morning, when the counting began, the contest seemed headed for a photo finish. 1 minute, the BJP was ahead. The next minute, it was the Congress that was surging. Markets crashed almost 800 points on opening, and they recovered once the leads and the trends settled post 10 a.m. They're now trading in the green. Gujarat's Chief Minister Vijay Rupani also faced a tough fight. He managed to retain his seat in the end. Winning Gujarat, his home state, is also a matter of prestige for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. That goes without saying. We saw him a short while back entering Parliament. He flashed a victory sign. The Congress's Sharmishta Mukherjee summed up how important Gujarat is for the BJP by calling it a citadel of the party. The party has been in power in Gujarat for 22 years and has beaten anti-incumbency. And how? And with me in the studio is a very special panel. Dilip, let's begin with you. You spoke to us when the exit poll figures came in, and the picture is more or less similar. What is the lesson that the BJP should now take? It was a very bitter campaign. They won, all right, and the winner takes it all. But the fact is that they were nervous during the campaign, and they showed it in the way the statements were made. What should be the areas that the BJP should now be working on?
Well, I think there should definitely be continuity in reform and progress and the change that they have been advocating. I think that's a good idea. I think that has resonated very deeply in Gujarat and across the country. In fact, I think more than people would like to admit. Things like GST is work in progress. It was never supposed to be a magic wand, and so it's good that there's interaction on GST. I mean, I think as far as I'm concerned, I think the BJP and the Prime Minister and his team should focus on the reforms that they have put in motion. There's no time to go back now, and I think that they were rightfully a little skeptical about Gujarat, and that is why the Prime Minister campaigned on centre stage in Gujarat. And by the results, you can tell that it was a good move. It was a good decision. And I think from the Congress point of view, it is a good sign that Rahul Gandhi, who is the president of the Congress, has decided that perhaps it's good to take on local people and have a little bit of a local flavour, and to divest in terms of the responsibilities, and maybe this will help them with a far more planned strategy in the other states to come.
Kushan, the same question to you. What should the BJP now look at fixing? And does this win, as Arun pointed out, they won Uttar Pradesh after demonetization, they won Gujarat after the GST reform. Does it signal that there is more to come in the months ahead?
One lesson from Gujarat, the biggest lesson, is the Congress put together a caste coalition in Gujarat, breaking the Patidar vote, which was very strongly towards the BJP for the last 20 years. And also in a state like Gujarat, a lot of the younger voters went to the Congress simply because they had not seen any party in power other than the Congress. The BJP will face similar challenges in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, which are states which have been in power for a long, long time. There are farmer protests in Madhya Pradesh and in Chhattisgarh, which they will have to deal with. They'll need to do a lot of work in those two states for sure, and they will need to again ensure that their caste coalition, and let's be honest, caste still plays a major, major role in India, particularly in more rural states like these two. They'll have to get those caste games right. They'll have to ensure that farmer protests do not get out of hand. There was some firing incidents in Madhya Pradesh recently. Again, a four-term chief minister and Shivraj Singh Chauhan ji. So it's going to be a very, very big challenge there. I mean, Chhattisgarh, they almost lost last time. Raman Singh just pulled off a great win last time. So let's see. I mean, it's going to be a big challenge. They have lessons to learn. In Gujarat, I think they got a bit complacent. And, well, they pulled it off. Great rear guard. They pulled off a great victory. but they cannot let complacency be and lose their heartland states.
I've not heard very many people use the word complacent with the BJP, but...
I'm with Kushal in the sense that complacency is probably, well, in the absence of Congress being their greatest enemy and the results bearing this out, complacency is their greatest enemy. If you look at reformers around the world, whether it was Tony Blair or Bill Clinton or Francois Mitterrand, they all say one thing, Parky, which is they regretted not moving faster on their reforms, right? So he's got the wind in his sails now, big time after this. So there's labour reform, there's land reform, there's banking reform, there's infrastructure reform. And let's not forget here that the mission is not winning Gujarat or UP. The mission is to turn our country into a world-class country that competes with China, that competes with the States. So this is a very, very good step towards it, but we're on the mezzanine level of reform at the moment.
Right.
And I want to get to one point, Palki. I mean, people are saying GST bad. BJP has won every single seat in Surat. The epicenter of the anti-GST protests, they've won every single seat.
It's a message.
So GST was not was not a key factor in this election. Yes, people were upset. Caste was a bigger factor than GST ever was.
In hindsight, we all become pundits.
Saying GST is bad. If you mean by people are saying that, if you mean me, no, 1 minute now.
Gabbar Singh tax was used by Mr. Gandhi, and he said it's bad.
But on this panel, I'm the one who said that it's had a very bad effect with traders.
I don't think it has. Surat, they've won every single seat.
All right, okay. I'm talking from people that I meet on the ground. I'm a reporter, basically.
Ma'am, so am I.
Do you want to talk instead of me, or can I just get in like one sentence?
Make your point, ma'am.
Yeah.
We have Shazia
waiting. The problem with the reform, nobody is saying that people don't want the reform. He won for parivartan, right? And everybody wants the change. But the things that are very important now is for jobs to get created, for private investment to pick up, so that there is a feeling that the economy is booming, which hasn't happened yet. And if he does even harder reforms, and people feel that there is prosperity coming, they won't mind them. At the moment, that hasn't happened.
Right. Shazia Elmi of the BJP with us. Shazia, congratulations. The question we are asking is... Okay, we will try and go to her in just a bit. I'm told Shazia Elmi of the BJP was with us. Yes.
See, what the BJP really needs to reflect is that even after being in power for 3 years, Narendra Modi, last time he was the chief minister, this time he was the prime minister, why is it that our numbers have really come down and not gone up? Okay, and what is the discomfort on the ground?
Power for 22 years, I mean, really.
No, but they've been only peaking. They've been only peaking. So when you peak in states that you've never done well... 1 hour back, we were all saying it's going to be a neck and neck battle. I predicted it. In hindsight, we're all sort of... That is true, but they should have peaked. They should have crossed the 150 mark.
Okay.
Something has really gone wrong somewhere. I know it's a victory, but it is not a referendum on the economic or political policies that the government and the Prime Minister...
What is it a referendum on?
It is not a referendum.
There is no alternative. That Rahul Gandhi doesn't appear as a plausible alternative right now. Is that what the referendum is?
No. Rahul Gandhi doesn't appear...
And on Modi himself.
Yeah.
He's the Prime Minister from Gujarat. I think that made a big difference. You know, they don't want the Prime Minister who comes from Gujarat to lose in his own state.
So then, okay. So you're saying that he's saying GST wasn't a factor. You're saying it made an impact. My question is that in this country, which is perpetually in election mode, there is an election every year. There's more than one election every year. It is often said that governments do not push tough reform because they want to win elections. Next year, 3 important states, then we have 2019. Do you believe Narendra Modi is breaking that cycle and saying, I will go ahead with what I think is going to win me elections or is good for the country, or as the case might be, but he's doing more than his predecessors did?
I think he's seen as being very sincere about what he's trying to do, and he's sincere about wanting to bring prosperity to India, which is why his personal popularity has not been affected. But it's very disappointing in both the Congress and the BJP to see no local leaders at all. If 3 young men who've popped out of nowhere can suddenly appear in Gujarat, why are they not in these main political parties? It's something those political parties need to think about.
Right, Brajesh Kulappa of the Congress Party is with us. Hello, Brajesh. The Congress Party has lost both the states, but many say that it's a win for Rahul Gandhi. Personally, he has shown a spark. How do you read this election?
No, I think we have to go a little back. We have to rewind a bit to about 5 to 6 months in the past. And during the elections to the Rajya Sabha, you have seen that the BJP did the very same thing that they had earlier done in Uttarakhand and in Arunachal Pradesh, in Goa and in Manipur. They bought and sold MLAs like cattle and like livestock. So 13 of our MLAs joined their ranks. And even the opposition leader, the leader of the opposition in the House, Shankar Singh Waghela, walked across. So from that point, I don't think any journalist would have said that Congress Party could even win the 44 seats it was left with. So from 44 to now, where we have posed an extremely strong challenge, the BJP had to look back on dozens of occasions to say, how far has the Congress reached very close to us? To now, in about 5-6 months, I think the entire credit should essentially go to Rahul Gandhi. And Rahul Gandhi has done extraordinarily well. He has built up the campaign, and he has also seen to it that there were 3 leaders who joined us, and seamlessly, without any difficulties. Because you see, there would be a lot of complications when a new coalition is being formed. And those complications didn't come to the fore at all. So these elections were fought very positively. We raised very important questions regarding the level of development, what claims had been made. A simple instance, how many houses? Because 50 lakh houses were to have been built. I think only. Yeah,
Mr. Karthikeya, sorry, bear with me for 5 minutes. Finally, I've got my colleague from Ahmedabad, Pragya Jha, to you. So what's happening out there?
I'm joining you from the BJP office here in Gandhinagar, the capital city of Gujarat. And you can see the Karyakartas who are behind me. These are volunteers, members of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And the cheering has just begun.
Bharatiya Janata Party ki jai. Bharatiya Janata Party ki
I think you go ahead, Pragya. This will continue. I don't think this is going to stop. Make your point.
That's right. So initially there were celebrations, took time to erupt, because midway there was this likelihood that the Congress is taking lead, and hence the gathering here at that time really slowed down. But post the numbers that have come, the late trends that are setting in, it seems that things have got better. However, the kind of celebrations that were expected, because the Prime Minister gave the 155 mark while addressing several rallies across the state. However, here what we are seeing is it's still a slowed down celebration, but people have come here, and the wind clearly says that neither anti-incumbency nor GST nor Notbandi could let Congress wrest Gujarat from BJP, and they set to make the government once again. We could go and speak here with the volunteers and ask them what they really feel, and did nervousness seep into them when the Congress...
Pragya, you stay with me. Bear with me for another 5 minutes. Pragya, you stay with me. The Prime Minister Modi's campaign was centered around 3 themes. The Prime Minister pushed his government's corruption-free track record, 1. He made most of the self-goals by the Congress, more specifically the statements by Manishankar Iyer. This led to the statement where he alleged meddling by Pakistan with the help of Congress, but a lot of people within Bharatiya Janata Party, civil society at large, felt that the Prime Minister should not have done that. He behaved more like a Chief Minister or a state politician rather than the Prime Minister. A lot of people objected to it. And yet again, he turned this election as well into a personality contest, reaching out to voters by putting his name on the line as the son of Gujarat. And with this, my question to you is, Tavleen, that the statements which the Prime Minister made at the fag end of it, did it really turn the tide?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I was listening to Subramanian Swamy earlier in ZTV, and he said that it was the Ram Mandir issue that had turned the tide, that it was Hindutva.
Kapil Sibal's comment.
Kapil Sibal's comment in the Supreme Court on the Ram Mandir. And I don't agree with that. I really think that what came across was that they didn't want to let down a Prime Minister who has done a lot for that state. And, if reform in Gujarat had gone ahead, because, it had plateaued after he left, and the two chief ministers that came after him have not built on the reforms that he made, but he did create a new Gujarat. And I think that they felt that they owed him to not let him down in this election.
Let me bring this to Arun as well. And I'm looking at a list of 6 factors that might have worked for Narendra Modi. The first is the Iyer factor, of course, the statements that he made. He's done it in the past. First, the Chaiwala comment, and now Neech. He invariably ends up helping the BJP. The GST tweak, making it simpler, bringing down GST rates drastically ahead of the Gujarat election. The easy farm loans that Vijay Rupani announced. The anti-Pakistan rhetoric. It's a tried and tested pre-election gimmick. The Hardik tapes, which some say the traditional Gujarati society may have not appreciated this side of someone who wants to call himself their leader. And the Nizami factor, the issue of the Kashmiri separatists, Salman Nizami campaigning along with Rahul Gandhi. What is it that you think worked for Narendra Modi, apart from the fact that he's Gujarat's son and they wanted to?
See, I think a couple of things which worked for him is, one, that he continues to enjoy that image of, as Tavleen was also saying, that being a sincere guy who is trying to do something good for the country. So that image still sticks with him. Second, that I tend to disagree with some people who say that it was not a Hindutva mandate. That is the undercurrent, but you may agree or not, but that is the undercurrent. He continues to be an unapologetic about being a pro-Hindu Prime Minister, or say a Hindu Prime Minister. And the third thing is that the BJP's organizational structure in Gujarat and the kind of hard work they had put in. See, Congress became pretty active 4 months ago, and BJP has a very well-oiled machinery there. And Amit Shah, you must have noticed that he suddenly went into the background, and he was actually kind of working there. And the other day, and even the BJP senior leaders, they were addressing nukkad meetings, corner meetings there.
Nirmala Sitharaman did that, Smriti Irani did that.
Arun Jaitley
himself did I have seen his corner meeting. Jiten Singh all the senior ministers were doing what you call small sabhas.
So as I have been saying, that has been a template which has been set for the BJP, that there is no substitute for hard work. So at the I think what Congress missed out on most was that even if there was a popular sentiment in their favor, you need people at the booth level, credible people who have been active in the political field, to mobilize the voters.
I don't know if you look at that way, even Congress went for a very low-profile campaign. I did not see any of the Congress leaders taking helicopters. They were given cars. They were doing press conferences in small cities. Their campaign was also not as high-profile as they launched in Uttar Pradesh. Most of the senior leaders had 1 or 2 helicopters.
I agree with you. No, the point which I was trying to make was that when now BJP goes into the election, every leader except Narendra Modi turns into a party worker. And Narendra Modi leads from the front, and everybody is working at its. I spoke to a few BJP leaders. It was not only the Panna Pramukhs and others. There were sectors which were divided, and the cabinet ministers, where the ministers were made in charge of that.
So basically, you are saying that BJP has succeeded in blending hard Hindutva, soft Hindutva.
It's a Hindutva plus development plus personality of Narendra Modi plus organizational. The way the organization worked.
I'll come back to this question because I have more queries on this. But Pragya wants to come in. You want to ask a question, Palki?
I think she had some guests with her at the BJP office who I'm sure are very keen on making some points on their big win. Pragya.
That's right. I was talking about the celebrations here, and we wanted to go to the Karyakartas and find out that whether a sense of, nervousness did seep in, because the celebrations here, I must remark, began in much later. We were here earlier. We'll speak to one of the Karyakartas. Dr. Shailendra. Shailendra ji, आप हमें बताइए कि कहीं ना कहीं कांग्रेस की जो लीड बीच में सेकंड या थर्ड राउंड की काउंटिंग के वक्त कांग्रेस की लीड बढ़ गई थी, क्या उस वक्त कार्यकर्ताओं में कहीं ना कहीं किसी तरह की नर्वसनेस आई? बिकॉज जीएसटी एंड नोटबंदी की वजह से जो कांग्रेस का प्रचार चल रहा था कुछ उस पर बेस था, और तीनों हार्दिक, अल्पेश एंड जिग्नेश को लेकर के जिस तरह से राहुल गांधी ने गैल्वेनाइज करने की कोशिश की थी वोटर्स को, यहाँ पे इस बारे में आपका क्या कहना है?
कांग्रेस ने बहुत नीचे स्तर पे गिर के चुनाव प्रचार करा। उन्होंने सोशल इंजीनियरिंग के भी सारे एक्सपेक्ट इस्तेमाल करे। उन्होंने जिस हिसाब से जातिगत वैमनस्य फैलाया और कार्यकर्ताओं के बीच में जैसा उन्होंने फैलाने का दुष्प्रचार का काम करा, इतना नीचे कांग्रेस कभी पहले गिरी भी नहीं थी। जिसे युवराज कहते थे राहुल गांधी को, उन्होंने अपनी चुनाव में ही राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष की ताजपोशी कराने के बाद ये मान रहे थे कि उनके ये प्रोपोगंडे चल जाएंगे। गुजरात की जिस जनता ने नरेंद्र मोदी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाते हुए देश का प्रधानमंत्री बनाया, और देश के प्रधानमंत्री रहते हुए नरेंद्र मोदी 3 साल से जो विश्व में भारतीय जनता पार्टी का और भारत का परचम फहराए हुए हैं, गुजरात की जनता ऐसा कैसे सोच सकती थी?
लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं प्रधानमंत्री ने ये भी कहा है कि 155 का उन्होंने टारगेट सेट किया था, लेकिन हम देख रहे हैं कि आंकड़े उस प्रकार से नहीं है। तो इस बारे में किस चीज को लेकर के उतना कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डअप नहीं हो पाया?
कांग्रेस ने पटेल समुदाय से इन तीनों युवाओं को लेकर जिस हिसाब से राजनीतिक सोच का परिचय किया, थोड़ा सा वजह से डिस्टर्ब हुआ है। अदरवाइज जीएसटी पे और नोटबंदी पे, दोनों पे गुजरात के समाज ने और गुजरात के व्यापारियों ने एक्सेप्ट करा। 17 टैक्सेस को मिला के एक टैक्स बनाया गया। एक टैक्स 17 से तो कम ही बैठेगा। तो देश के विकास के लिए ये कैड़े फैसले लेने जरूरी थे, जिन फैसलों को कांग्रेस ना लेने की सोच रही थी ना कर रही थी। देश के हित में कैड़े फैसले भी लिए। देश की जनता ने स्वीकार करा नरेंद्र भाई मोदी के नेतृत्व को, और लगातार किसी भी पार्टी का जीतना ये परिचय देता है कि उस व्यक्ति का जो प्रधान नेतृत्व है वो चरित्रवान भी है, ईमानदार भी है।
Praises for the Prime Minister. However, the trio factor, Alpesh, Jignesh and Hardik has worked for the Prime Minister and has worked for the Congress with increase in their vote share from the last time. Also, the Congress was able to do well in terms of, the kind of voter base they were.
The BJP office in Ahmedabad. Shazia Ilmi of the BJP joining us now. Shazia, from the discussion since this morning, what seems to have emerged is this, that Narendra Modi is still the Neta number 1 in Gujarat, but Rahul Gandhi certainly has found his voice in that state.
Well, absolutely. It has been a fiercely bought electoral battle, as all election battles should be. But I must say that it reinforces people's faith in the Prime Minister again and again, and also a huge endorsement of the economic policies and reforms that have been taking place in a huge, wide sweeping manner in the country. So I think this is a huge indication of the same, and it goes on to show that no matter what the opposition tries to do, whether it is spreading canards or spreading canards about the economic policies, or driving back the religion, caste factor, as was evident in the Gujarat politics, because of how the fire of caste reservation was stoked, and you could see it was very evident what was happening. But despite of all that, people's vote has gone back, and in Gujarat and Himachal both, most smoothly and decisively, so to speak. But to hold it in Gujarat after 2 decades of incumbency, yes, we've lost some, but the fact of the matter is that it is absolutely not just a big victory where Gujarat and Himachal goes, but a huge endorsement of people's faith in Prime Minister's political and economic leadership. And that is a huge sign, I think, and a big, big green sign and a go-ahead for the BJP and the Prime Minister to lead the country into another age, so to speak. And it seems that people in Gujarat believe that, not everything is perfect as they were complaining. The implementation, many of them complained, could have been better.
Right.
There is this huge trader community which was affected, of course, by the GST implementation. But still the faith in the leadership of the Pradhan Sevak, Prime Minister, remained, stood its ground. And this is what you see today.
Right.
I was always confident and I knew that we are winning.
Brajesh Kalappa is with us.
But it's also a huge endorsement of Prime Minister's economic reforms.
Sure. Brajesh Kalappa, we were talking about the lessons for the BJP. I think retrospection should be more in the Congress camp. Someone here mentioned that the Congress leader now, the Congress president, should refrain from taking a New Year's holiday. He should camp in the next poll-bound state, and one of them is Karnataka, and that is going to be a steep challenge for your party and for you.
No, I must tell you, since I myself hail from Karnataka, that we are clearly going to win the elections in Karnataka. There is absolutely no anti-incumbency, and two, the BJP is in very bad shape in Karnataka. There are internal squabbles. None of them can see eye to eye with each other. The person who has been nominated to be the chief ministerial candidate, he has a bag full of corruption charges, and they are going to face an extremely difficult situation in Karnataka. As far as Gujarat was concerned, the people definitely wanted to punish them, and because of the skewed economic policies, whether it was the ill-advised GST or demonetization, it has broken the back of traders. But the people said that we can't let Narendra Modi down at this point in time, and they have perhaps voted him. But the same situation is not going to continue in Karnataka. So, so far as Karnataka is concerned, and few further elections, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, the BJP is going to have a very, very tough battle, because as it is, as you know, there is a serious agrarian crisis.
Shazia, I want to respond to your statement.
Markets are terrible. I think every
Mr. Kalappa, I think you made your point, sir.
Is facing about 30 to 40%.
Mr. Kalappa, you made your point. Shazia wanted to come in. Yes, Shazia, please respond to Mr. Kalappa.
Yes, and I was just curious as to why Mr. Kalappa is not commenting on today's verdict, which I find historic in many ways, keeping in mind the fact that for more than 20 years there has been one party in power and has left such a huge imprint on the imagination and the hearts of multitudes of people there, that even despite the fact that they have had the same government, they will still want to vote back. Why does he want to talk about Karnataka today? We'll see what happens there, and I totally disagree with what he's saying on Karnataka, but that's another story, and I'm going to talk about it when the Karnataka when Karnataka will become the topic of discussion. But the fact of the matter is that you see this whole partidar agitation. The promise of giving the promise of giving reservations when it's constitutionally impossible to do so, then dividing the community in such a huge way, making this cleavage, making it partidar, OBC and Dalit combined, and then bringing the religion card and suddenly discovering that Rahul Gandhi is a Janeyu wearing Brahmin and temple hopping. That has not paid. You're going to Gujarat, you're talking to an average Gujarati, and there you're telling him there is no development. He is living in a state where he has seen development for himself and herself, you see. So you're challenging the basic intelligence of the voter. You're doing temple hopping on the one hand. On the other hand, your senior leader, like Kapil Sibal says, you're deferring the temple verdict. So the totally confused, chaotic messaging of Congress party, which was both communal and caste-based, did not pay electoral dividends, and what paid off eventually was faith in good old God, that we believe this man, we believe his team.
Mr. Kalappa, now you respond to it. I think Shazia made a point. Yeah, I think you made a point. Mr. Kalappa, now you respond to it.
No, I have already stated earlier, Karthikeya, and I don't think Shazia was here to hear me. I was only saying that as far as the Congress party is concerned, in the last 5 to 6 months, the kind of the extremely mean, low-level means of doing politics, where buying our MLAs just 3-4 months before the elections, 13 of our MLAs switched over, and then the opposition leader was made to leave politics and had to quit the Congress party. So this is the kind of mean level of politics the BJP did. They've done the same thing in Uttarakhand. They've got a slap on the face from the Supreme Court. They did the same thing in Arunachal Pradesh. In fact, they paid the same MLAs twice over. The Kalikopul confessions, they only speak about that. And further, what they did in Manipur and in Goa, they're available for everybody to see, buying MLAs. So, leaving us in a state, trying to deal us a body blow, sometime very close to the elections, just 5 months earlier. And from then we've recouped, and how? We have really given them for their money. Today, I think the only reason why the BJP was able to pull it through was because the Honorable Prime Minister comes from Gujarat.
Okay.
And the party president was not even shown in public, because people would then ask questions by how did your son make so much of money? So he was hiding behind the closed
I think there's a bit of a
curtains.
breaking news. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalapa.
For the BJP.
Thank you so much.
Right?
Thank you so much, sir. Falling short of time, to you also, Shahzia, to Mr. Kalapa also. Finally, Rahul Gandhi has reached Parliament. It's expected that he might speak to reporters, but he's finally there, because the criticism in Morning Palki was that, why wasn't in Lok Sabha? But opening this for the discussion of our panel, most of them have said that it was a confused messaging by the Congress party. But my question to you is, Kushan, two things are very, very clear. Yeah. One is that Alpesh might have won the election. Hardik might have done huge rallies, and the other person might have again won the election, Jignesh Meswani, but they have not been able to deliver. The vote transfers have not taken place, or else the new data, which is again showing 107 and 70 seats, it's not even 80, would not have happened.
I think they have delivered to an extent. I wouldn't say they haven't delivered at all. It's just that I think when the BJP got its act together towards the end and went after the other OBC votes, which the party, to compensate for the lack of the Patidar vote, possibly helped them. I wouldn't say they haven't delivered. I think it would have been a bit better had they formally joined the Congress, because over here it was all this, we are together but we are not together stuff going on with these guys. But they did deliver, and the Patidar vote has broken away from the BJP to an extent. And this will remain a challenge for the BJP going into 2019. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though I don't expect the BJP will win 26 out of 26 in
Jasper, I asked this question to you morning at 8 a.m. today. It's about Modi branding. Has he escaped that? Has he escaped Gujarat elections?
Oh, I think, any small loss from the 115 is only on the margin, frankly, Kartikeya. I mean, I think my personal opinion on this is it's an unwinnable fight for the Congress party. Only at 10 a.m. this morning were we thinking otherwise, right? Yeah. And without wishing to rain on the parade, we're in the business in this show of trying to create hype. The only hype in this election is if Congress had won, which is highly unlikely. Now, the other note of caution I put in here is to what extent is Gujarat as an electoral base and as an economic experiment in any case representative of the rest of India? And the note of caution I perhaps sound is I wouldn't be getting too much on my high horse if I was the BJP, because there's a lot to do, and the rest of the country doesn't look a lot like Gujarat.
Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Yes, I do actually, and I think that. Like I mentioned earlier on, I mean, I think that somewhere in the BJP think tank, they were expecting a close result, and that is why there was such a lot of direct participation. And having said that, I mean, I do think that as we go along in the other states for the election, there is going to be a consideration that, to an extent, Gujarat is Narendra Modi ji's backyard, but on the other hand, it's probably going to have a totally different strategy as we go along in the country.
Tavleen, I have a question for you. Sorry. You have written a book, you have written many editorials on Gandhi's. Is dynasty a baggage today? Because Prime Minister spoke on this issue during his rallies. Dynasty and family.
Yeah, I think it is. If you notice that even in the UP and Bihar, where you have the Yadavs, they may win, but they're not able to take the community with them. In either case, for instance, the Mulayam Singh and family won 7 seats in the Lok Sabha. Normally, they should have been able to get all the Yadav seats should have gone with them. The same with Lalu, he doesn't really seem to be. So I think that people are getting sick and tired of dynasty, because it shows that the person who is the heir, or whoever he is there not for public service, but for the service of his family. And whenever I travel during elections, this is the one thing they don't like. You hear against Parivarvad. wherever I've gone. You know, they don't like it. Sometimes they're forced into voting for, say, the Samajwadi Party, or for want of an alternative. But if alternatives emerge by 2019 in the states where dynasties rule, I can see that, you know, being a big factor.
So I tend to agree with you, ma'am, that dynasties they don't look good. They don't look as good, particularly amongst the younger generation. But they have one benefit, which is tenure, right? They've made their bed with Rao. They only did it last week or whatever. That he's going to stay in that bed for 5 years, probably 10 years. Now, the benefit that gives you is that you may not be able to win a head-to-head boxing match with Narendra Modi, but at some point in a big reform agenda, he'll slip up. And then tenure becomes important because you can take advantage of mistakes. So I personally don't think... I think he's a cruiserweight at the moment in a super heavyweight fight. But in 5 years' time, is there a job problem? Is there a tax problem? Maybe. And then tenure and dynasty might help it.
But Sharad, is this a reflection of mood change in India 20 years back, 25 years back? The word in which we call in Hindi Khandan, the family, the heritage, itself was supposed to be a good thing. You know, marriages took place after checking, you know, doing a background checkup. But today, good politicians are like entrepreneurs, like outsiders. The outsiders are insiders, and insiders are the political outsiders. People don't trust them. So, and anyone who has covered Congress knows that there's a difference between the family and the party. They're two different things. So, how will Rahul Gandhi bridge that long gap?
Yeah, that's difficult. But the dynasty or the family gives you one advantage. You become a recognizable face. Because of the family background, you are recognized. You become a household name, I'll say. But in this case, in Gujarat election, what I feel tilt balance in favor of the BJP was its organizational structure. Basically, they are so well entrenched, and Amit Shah camped in Gujarat for more than a month. Prime Minister addressed more than 30 rallies. So they were basically working so hard. I'll rather narrate you one anecdote. That was in 1999 when then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee announced publicly during one of the national executives in Bangalore that consultation with the party is fine, but in matters of governance, Prime Minister's word will be final. That means there were so many pinpricks between party and the government. So in that case, he clarified that it's in matters of governance, his word will be final and nothing to do with party. Why? Because whenever party comes to power, its cream, A team, goes into the government and only B team runs the party. In those cases, between 98 and 2004, the party, who were the party presidents in BJP? Bangaru Lakshman, Jana Krishnamurthy, having almost no popular base. But here, in this case, after Modi became Prime Minister, he did not believe in giving a B team to the BJP. Amit Shah is part of A team, and still he managed the party.
So basically, I think the point is trying. I think that's a very relevant point. But I know you have to go. But I'll take the closing comments from you. Do you think that this model works better as worked for Bharatiya Janata Party? A-listers doing the B-list job, the C-list job, the D-list job when it comes to elections?
Well, it doesn't harm them, but I think that they must start building a second layer of leaders, which you don't see. You know, it cost them very heavily in Bihar, because that was the first time that anyone had seen Amit Shah on a poster. All the posters there were of Amit Shah and, and Modi. And people were saying, who's this fat man, right? So, you know, you've really got to now find those. In UP, Yogi Adityanath came in afterwards. You know, where are their leaders? And this is what destroyed the Congress party structure, is that the chief ministers who could win an election in a state, leave alone their own seat, they were removed by the dynasty because they were a threat to the heirs. The BJP could be falling into that trap if all we're going to see is Modi and Amit Shah in every election campaign.
Right. That's interesting. Since you mentioned the individuals who... was this election only about Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi? Were the likes of Hardik Patel even factors when it came to the voting?
Well, like I said earlier, I mean, for me, the Gujarat elections is really today about the kind of gain that the Congress might have made in the sense that they were, that Narendra Modi ji would win Gujarat was a foregone conclusion, was a given. And the good thing is that if the Congress now can recognize the fact that beyond the dynasty you need local players, as you're saying, that'll be a wonderful thing. And they can also begin to recognize with a little bit of confidence as to perhaps in the time to come, in the near future, their role as a good opposition. And that is what I think they ought to develop, so that in a democracy we have a healthy balance. And I think that Tavleen was quite right in pointing out, but it's a star-making business, politics. So when you have your star players, you're going to bring them out. I mean, you're fighting such an important election. You've only been in power for 3 years. Obviously, you're going to bring out your star players, and the star players are our incumbent Prime Minister and Amit Shah.
Kushan, under Rahul Gandhi, the so-called resurgent Rahul Gandhi, do you think the Congress is going to find its mojo back to act as a glue for the opposition, as it were?
I don't think Rahul Gandhi is resurgent as yet in that sense. He'll have to possibly pull off a couple of election victories to be seen as truly resurgent. Just because, as I said, witticisms on Twitter will not work, and just because the witty on Twitter will not help you get votes. Now, if he manages to win, as I said, the elections later in 2018 have a big role to play. The BJP realize, because, elections in 2018 will be seen as a semi-final, in a matter of speaking, before 2019. Now, what will Rahul Gandhi do in these elections? Will, for example, in Rajasthan, we let Sachin Pilot be the CM candidate? Will he let Jyoti be the CM candidate in Madhya Pradesh? These will have major factors to play. Will he let them, even though they are, people call them dynasts as well, but will he sort of delegate responsibility? As you Tavleen spoke about, just seeing two men on posters. Will Rahul Gandhi play the different tack? Will he delegate responsibility to other scions and let them run the show in their states?
Do you think he will, Kartikeya? You've covered the Congress for very long.
There are three things, I'm glad you asked me this, because I was dying to say that. One thing I really feel is that the more they talk about the sacrifice and personal sacrifice and violence, those are facts of history. The prime ministers were assassinated. They had other personal roles like father, son, daughter. They cannot. I don't think in the present circumstances they can continue to be politically appropriated for electoral gains. I don't think that works. Secondly, I was there that day. I really found it strange. They are not my colleagues. I have barely covered them for 15 years. But to see Kamal Nath standing in a queue behind Subodh Khan Sahai, then behind two other former cabinet union ministers, and then talking about the virtues of Rahul Gandhi's intelligence. I felt very out of place, if not okay, but I found it very strange because, and for Sonia Gandhi to say that thing again and again, I think some part of this country has changed. Obviously, it's not changed in a way where it appreciates what happened in Raj Saman, the ugly incident where a man was burned. Yes, there are ugly parts of the change which we witnessed today and a lot of people have written, but something definitely has changed in this country in past 4 years.
In the mind of the voter, he wants people who are there to serve him and not their family.
Absolutely.
And political families usually are created to protect a family business, right? When we talk about corruption, let's be quite clear. Why do some of these heirs that they brought into politics have never held a job? They've never been they're unemployable except in politics. And I think people are seeing this more and more. I find that.
And the demographic of a young generation of Indians which creates the middle class who are non-dynastic. I mean, they come from normal families. That is why they identify with someone who also has a similar background. And that has diluted the entire concept of a dynastic rule. And, it is gradually getting eroded. And I'm sure that the Congress the Congress party and the government realize this, and that's why in Gujarat they have used local people and local leaders or people who are influential in the local scenario to help them.
And yet, almost running parallelly with the election was the buzz about Rahul Gandhi taking over. So, to a certain extent, do you think the timing wasn't so great? It was a bit of a self-goal? You're saying that the Congress tried to help local leaders emerge, but at the same time you say if dynasty doesn't work and if the new voter does not want to vote in favor of dynasty, to elevate Rahul Gandhi at this point wasn't a very good idea.
Well, I don't think he helped promote the local leaders. He needed the local leaders to make any progress at all. I mean, this should be the understanding that, you know, the dynasty itself doesn't have a single figurehead like the Prime Minister who's a single campaigner. He needs the support of various people at different levels.
We can debate the dynasty piece all day long, right? Unless someone thinks they're going to throw Rahul Gandhi out in the next 5 years, and probably 10 years, that's the situation. Now, where I think that the energy should be going in Congress is what do they do with that situation? So whether it's making it into a team game, right, because the individual contest looks hard, or whether, for example, he focuses on youth. You know, he's got one big asset. I think we called him a young man earlier on today, which I felt pretty good about. I'm even younger than him. So he's a young guy. This is a very young country. I can't comment on Mr. Amit Shah's physical condition. He looks good to me. But these are older guys, right? So maybe there's a brand angle from that perspective. Because it doesn't feel to me like either party are exploiting the young, urban, energetic brand.
No, they have. I mean, the Congress has set up something called the Professional Congress.
Yes, absolutely.
Which they're trying to go after. But I think he really needs to reach out to, when you talk about young people, you need to reach out to the young college students. You need to reach out. The Youth Congress needs a rejuvenation. Rahul Gandhi as president of the Youth Congress, I don't think he did enough over there. And that is evident in the fact that the RSS wing, the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, has won a lot of universities across the country. What happens, university campuses are the crucible of politics, so to speak. So a lot needs to be done. It's not as if the BJP doesn't have dynasties. However, in the BJP, quite notably, you can see the father fighting the son in the case of Yashwant Sinha and Jayant Sinha. But the BJP has managed to build a very clear image that, listen, we are all patriotic, we are not corrupt, and the public at large feels the BJP is not as corrupt. Rahul Gandhi will have to be seen to be taking action against some of those inside the Congress who were quite clearly involved in the 2G scam or the coal scam. The 2G verdict comes out in a couple of days, on the 21st, if I'm correct. Now, if the verdict is adverse, if the verdict is adverse, or if more action is taken against the former finance minister of this country, Mr. Chidambaram, what will Rahul Gandhi do? Will he? It's not just chucking out a motor mouth like Manishankar Iyer, but will he act against some of the...
But Kushal, the whole question of millennials is a very complex phenomena.
Yes.
There are people who have not seen Modi's regime in Gujarat, they will vote for Rahul Gandhi. They might find him cool, chilled out person, far more sophisticated, suave English speaking. But then in different cities, in far more vernacular population, you will find Modi as a rock star.
Right. We have with us
different millennials behave in a different way.
We have with us Asaduddin Owaisi joining us now. Good afternoon, Mr. Owaisi. Your first reaction, sir, to the way the results have showed the BJP winning again, both the states.
Well, it is time for the Congress party to do their own introspection, because I am of the opinion that this was a great golden opportunity which presented itself to Congress to defeat BJP in its own den, because there were so many factors which was going against BJP, but it is unfortunate that the Congress could not really capitalize on so much of anti-incumbency, so much of rural distress, farmer distress, demonetization, GST, you name, say, so many factors. So it is for them to now introspect, and also one must also please remember that the result of 2014 Lok Sabha election of Gujarat is not reflected in this assembly election. So this whole grandiose claim of Amit Shah that we'll get 140 plus has now, it is completely wrong. So this is also a factor, and I feel that BJP is winning, but it will be a Pyrrhic victory for BJP.
Okay, Rahul Gandhi's pictures today, this morning, Karthikeyan,
okay, yes.
Is entering the Parliament building, and
that's the gate number 4.
Right. Okay. So
many afternoons.
He hasn't spoken. But what could he have done differently, Mr. Owaisi? What could the Congress party have done differently to win this election? You said it's an opportunity they lost.
Well, you see, again, I am of the opinion, which one can disagree, that but for Hardik, Alpesh and Jignesh, I don't think so Congress would have even would have got the numbers which they're getting now. So that is why I once again reiterate that this was a great opportunity to really defeat BJP.
Mr. Owaisi, Karthikeyan
I am of the opinion that these Gujarat Assembly elections.
Asad Owaisi hai.
Karthikeyan, let me complete. Let me complete. Let me complete. Please allow me to complete. That these Gujarat elections have once again proven the marginalization of Indian Muslims in these elections, because it is both the national party leaders, they have hopped around in mandirs. Now where is the Muslim faces over there? Congress has given a seat less to what they have given last time. So this is very dangerous, because our democracy is a participative form of democracy. Now if both the national parties turn it into a majoritarian form of democracy, then this is not good for our pluralism, and this will have a long-term impact on our politics.
Asad, so you are basically saying Congress politically legitimized majoritarian politics in Gujarat. Are you saying this?
Well, Karthikeyan, it will be a very strong statement to make as of now, but definitely, if you, I mean, I was following you on Twitter and everything, but one can clearly say that Congress has, did try to become more like BJP in their election campaign. Because how is it that not a single Congress leader, leave aside their president for his, you don't see them going to a madrasa or to the famous dargahs of Ahmedabad. So that is why I see that this is not good for our polity. Even BJP has not given a single Muslim a ticket. And the BJP talks about empowerment of Muslim women. So that is why I say that both these national parties practicing this majoritarian form of democracy is not good for our democracy. Because once you adopt such majoritarianism in your electoral campaign, and I blame BJP also, Mr. Modi talked about Aurangzeb, Pakistan. For.
So basically your argument is that somehow the voice of the minority did not get reflected. So what's the course correction for mainstream parties? Because this is not something which the Congress has done. Many regional parties opposed to Bharatiya Janata Party flirt with certain sentiments. And it brings me to the question of secularism in this country. What sort of secularism should exist? Hard secularism of France, or a secularism suited to subcontinental sensibilities, sir?
Karthikeyan, for me, secularism is a dirty word, and as a community we have suffered more by carrying this burden of secularism on our shoulders from last 70 years. I do not want to be a coolie of secularism. This burden of carrying secularism's dead body on my shoulder, which I have been carrying for 70 years, I think so, I don't want to carry it. Let someone else carry it, because I have been reduced to an iftar party or to a dargah oras. The issues of development are not at all concerned with me. The political empowerment, no one talks about it. So that is why I say that the politics which has been practiced by both the national parties in Gujarat especially is not good for our participative form of democracy.
Would you concede that the Modi-Shah combine is the invincible election machine in the country right now?
Definitely, BJP's electoral strategy, it's like a machine. One cannot deny that. You know, especially in the second phase, the way BJP went for aggressive campaign, and to call it that they went for a jugular would be understatement. But the way they campaigned in second phase, and I still say that but for Hardik's aggressive campaigning, I don't think so the Congress would have really got this kind of vote share and also this number of seats. And the third important point is that every time I was personally blamed for cutting into the so-called secular roads which never existed. I am of the opinion that from last 40 years there has always been a majority vote. There has never been a so-called Muslim vote.
Thank you, Asaduddin Owaisi. Thanks very much for joining us. As someone said, Hindutva has no anti-incumbency in this country. Jitendra Singh, Minister of State in the PMO, joining us. Mr. Singh, congratulations. What do you make of this result, sir?
Thank you. I think many things. First of all, I would say after 22 years, winning with that comfortable a margin is, in fact, the results amounts to redefining the definition of anti-incumbency and pro-incumbency in the history of Indian democracy. Secondly, I am also satisfied from the point of view that in this election there was a very dangerous effort to induce casteist passions, to rake up one sect against the other. Unforgetful, quite mindless of the fact that this is Gujarat of 2017, India of 2017. And more than 70% of the population is below the age of 40. Majority of voters are youth, and yet a handful of youth leaders who claim to be youth leaders and are trying to, or probably claiming to address the aspirations of the youth, were trying to push the youth into medieval times, into retrograde times. But the youth of Gujarat, who comprise the majority of voters, have sent out a very loud and clear message that they are aspirational, they are forward-looking, they are progressive, they are ready to go forward on the development journey led by Shri Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party. And I think in a nutshell, this is also a vote for Vikas as well as Vishwas. There is trustworthiness. For example, take the case of Surat. Now, I have been in Gujarat election for the last 3 months and then camping in Surat city for the last 2 months, which was considered vulnerable by some of the opposition leaders because of its industrial sensitiveness, and they try to rake up passions in the name of GST, etc., etc. But the manner in which all the 12 seats of the Surat city are being returned to BJP is, I think, in itself an indicator. Please remember, last time we had lost 1 seat in Surat city. This time we are getting all the 12 seats. So it's a positive endorsement of not only of the tough decisions taken by Narendra Modi, notwithstanding the initial hardship that the people might have to face, but they have also the kind of trustworthiness that this dispensation enjoys, because the people feel, the industrial community feels that after all, their issues, their concerns will be addressed only and only by this dispensation, and therefore they can safely put their stakes with them. Mr. Singh, this is a huge message from that point of view as well.
Mr. Singh, Karthike here. I met you in Surat when I had come for reporting, and at that point of time you were pretty confident. You said, you told me that no, we will retain all the seats. So sir, my question to you is, does it reflect that the population at large has come to stand by the tough economic decisions which political executive takes? Or was this election more about the Gujarati asmita and pride associated with the Prime Minister, or blend of both? I know you had been there for 20 days continuously.
Yes. No, I think you've put it very wisely, Karthike. I'll just add to what you said. The endorsement of a tough decision also is inspired by the faith that they can trust a government led by Modi for taking tough decisions, because in the long run, notwithstanding the initial hardship, there is some good in store for them and for their children. And I think that's a huge contribution to the Indian democracy. Just remember, before 2014, there was so much of cynicism in the minds of the common man or common Indian. They always looked upon the government or the political leader or even anybody from the government with a certain amount of skepticism. So I think this is, as I had already, I think I shared with you in Surat as well, that this election is going to be a watershed in more than one ways. we have a post-1990 third generation of Indians and third generation of Gujarat.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, in 2018, we are going to have first generation voters who were born in 2000.
Very quick question, sir.
We cannot play the tricks of the last election.
Mr. Singh, very quick question. This is being called a license to the BJP government at the centre to push for more bold reforms. Is that what we should expect in the months ahead?
I would rather rephrase it this way. As Prime Minister Modi has been reiterating, हम यहाँ देश चलाने आए हैं, सरकार चलाने नहीं आए, और इसकी कुछ कीमत भी चुकानी पड़ी तो चुका सकते हैं. But then people have that faith and trust. So even if the decision is bold, it will not be devoid of sensitivity. Like what has happened in the case of GST. Government is open-minded to all the inputs and is ready to make a course correction wherever it is feasible. So I think this is a government which, even if it takes a tough decision, takes it with a great deal of sensitivity and concern for the last man in the last queue.
Right, Jitendra Singh, thanks very much for joining us here on the show. And it's been an interesting election from the word go. And I'm looking at pictures of a mushroom cake. BJP workers are cutting a mushroom cake in Gujarat. And
the charge was of the Gucci, the expensive Gucci.
Gucci mushrooms, 80,000 rupees a mushroom that the Prime Minister is consuming. That was the charge. Let's go straight to Aisha, who's standing by for all the number crunching.
Thanks very much, Palki. I'm joined by the psephologist Parimal Singh here on the Wion deck. Mr. Singh, before we get into the nitty-gritties, in terms of the big takeaways from the numbers that we're seeing, let's have your reaction on that first, sir.
Yeah, as I look at the vote share, BJP is carving out a vote share of 49.1%. This is remarkable. I think that after 22 years of rule, if a party is still gaining in votes, this is amazing. Right. I think it's a very, very good performance by the BJP. Having said that, I think there were certain. I think Congress lost this election the day it agreed to give reservations to Patidars.
All right.
It was decided then and there.
But they were being called the disruptive factor.
Yeah, disruptive factor. This was the disruptive factor from the Congress point of view.
But you're saying that that was a risk that the Congress took, but it backfired.
That led to the reverse polarization among OBCs. And that benefited BJP a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
When we're looking at the BJP, sir, is this result, let's say, reflective of the Amit Shah, Narendra Modi combine and how it's working for the BJP? And are you going to see, do you feel that this is going to be, we're going to see a further consolidation of this combine in terms of within the party and the way it proceeds here on?
Yeah, that would be too early to really say on that, because there are many other factors, and if you think that this is a pointer to 2019, I think it would be too early. In fact, this victory might go into their head and they might behave completely differently, you know.
All right, so you're saying the arrogance
as for the Congress, yes. As for the Congress, I'm telling you, loss among OBC votes, it outweighed the gain among Patidars.
Okay.
Far outweighed. So I think that giving reservation to Patidars was a big blunder, Himalayan blunder for the Congress.
Okay, so there was an actual blunder.
They lost the plot from there.
All right,
so
we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much, Mr. Singh. Palki, it's back to you and Karthikeya in the studio.
Thanks very much, Aisha. And Divya Spandana, who many have credited for the social media offensive launched by the Congress party, has tweeted saying, "Congratulations, BJP, but we aren't giving up just yet." So this is probably a sign.
My understanding, and again I would say, is that social media campaign worked, but it was not married to organization, but something which OIC said.
But why wasn't it married? Because Rahul Gandhi for years has been saying, I do not want a formal post, I want to work on building the grassroots. So where are those grassroots? Which state has the Congress?
Palki, I'll give you one example and you'll be very surprised. You know, in 2007, I remember there was the day when Veerappa Moily, Priyanjan Das Punshi, Ghulam Nabi Azad, senior leaders were sitting inside room with Rahul Gandhi, and he was meeting candidates to select them for internal elections. Later, there was a committee appointed by Sonia Gandhi, and it was found that the elections have become the most expensive thing. The aim of the internal election was to create primaries. So then what happened was the people from rich families ended up spending 2 crore for youth Congress elections, 1 crore for frontal organization elections, and all of this was reported that, you know, by You are thinking that you are trying to democratize it, but it became a wall for the poor candidates. So sometimes you might think that it is a good way to deal with a problem, but you end up creating subsidiary problems.
You're disconnected with your party, you're disconnected with your party worker, you're disconnected with your voter. And after more than 2 decades of being in politics, at the helm, at the decision-making level, you're still faring like you did in Gujarat. That is a loss. They may have gained more than 10 seats, but from where I see it, Rahul Gandhi has lost miserably.
Yes, he has lost miserably. He's disconnected from the social context. That's the most important part, because the politics has to have a context. But something which really bothers me, and I'm sure this is going to spark a debate in the Congress party, will be the comments made by Mr. Owaisi, because there are a lot of people who want really the Congress to go to the left of centre. They really don't want Congress to go the right of centre. And this is a debate which has been in Congress party from 1930s.
Right.
Collision or organization. Right of centre or left of centre. Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, Gandhi, C. Rajgopalachari. It begins from there. And it continues till today.
Very, very emotional, Karthikeya here. Atul Aneja, the China correspondent for The Hindu, joining us from Beijing this afternoon, and François Gauthier, the author of A New History of India, with us from Pondicherry. Good afternoon to both of you. Atul, the Chinese government's mouthpiece, Global Times, has been writing about the Gujarat election, saying that this will be a referendum of sorts for the Prime Minister, and this will show which road India takes henceforth. His state has voted in favour of the Prime Minister and his policies, GST in particular. How does Beijing see this result?
Well, from the Chinese perspective, this results of the Gujarat elections would be read as indicative of what might happen in 2019 in the national elections, because that's what matters to the Chinese, is the overall Indian foreign policy towards China, and of course what opportunities does it open for China, both in the economic plane, which means in terms of investments and trade, and as well as on the geopolitical side in terms of security. So I think what the Chinese would have drawn from this is, yes, the Modi charisma still works, but it's more of a one-man show rather than, it's the rise of a personality cult even further, because really he was a star campaigner for Gujarat elections. And, one-man show in a way, the energy levels which he showed and the campaigning which he did, nobody's lost sight of that, which also in a way reflects a fragility of a party because it's dependent on one particular individual. They would also look at a slow revival of the Congress, because despite everything else, if you look at the numbers, you get about 75 and BJP 105. So you would, I think, from the Chinese perspective, they would start re-engaging the Congress a little more than what they have been doing so far. I think the lesson which is drawn is, yes, BJP will be the front runner for 2019, but it's not a done deal. And therefore, the time has come to engage with other players in the Indian mainstream, which would essentially involve that when they have their conferences and their big seminars, etc., it's quite likely now that representatives from the Congress acquire a higher profile than they have been doing earlier. I think they're going to balance it out right now. But what will also be very important, I think the Chinese mind will follow, because the focus now is, okay, this was Modi's lair, and Congress has not done too badly. And then you come to the next ones, which will be, I think, Rajasthan and the Madhya Pradesh. I think they will make up their mind after that. But they do, I think there will be a little evening out here. The assumption earlier that 2019 is a done deal, I think that would in some way have been dented by this election.
I'm not sure how much it will help the Congress party to engage with the Chinese. Rahul Gandhi tried to do that in an unofficial capacity. It did work very well for him. But I take your point that as all good diplomats, the Chinese too will be looking at keeping their options open, and 2019 is not a done deal, you say. François, what is your take?
And of course, are you asking me now?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, the Chinese would have preferred the Congress to win the elections in Gujarat. Of course, it would be a sign that Congress would win in 2019 for the good reason that, the Congress would be more, soft toward the Chinese, who are making a big push now, not only in the Himalayas, through Pakistan, Kashmir, where they're doing the famous New Silk Road, which aims to help all the Chinese goods onto Europe and the West. But also they're trying to control the the navigation, between the China Sea and the Indian Ocean, and they're also trying to gain territory, whether it's Arunachal Pradesh or many other territories. So, they would have preferred the Congress to win, because Mr. Modi is the only person who actually can put a brake on the Chinese search for hegemony. I think the West is beginning to get a little nervous about, the Chinese having so much domination, so much money, that they buy entire countries.
François, we're going to try and fix your audio. We are having some problems there. Can't hear you clearly. We'll come back to you in just a bit, but you can look at our reporters, Raghavendra Rao at Vijay Chowk, Khalid in the BJP office in New Delhi, and Pragya Jha, who has been reporting from the BJP office in Ahmedabad. There's a mood of celebration, of course, as expected in the office of the ruling party. And if I could begin with Raghavendra Rao. Right, I'm told that we should go to Khalid first. He's through with us. Khalid, bring us the reactions that you're getting. What are the BJP workers and leaders they're talking about?
Well, yes, definitely the mood is jubilant out here. That you can see in the visuals itself. A huge crowd of people out here. The supporters of BJP really coming in, trickling in from all parts of Delhi to really celebrate this victory. Earlier in the morning when we started reporting from here, the mood was very solemn, and there was hardly any person visible out here inside the BJP headquarters. But 11 a.m. is the time when they started really coming out and celebrating. The flags went down, and then the celebration started. Firecrackers going on the Akbar Road. The entire stretch is really full of people who have come from all parts of the Delhi to really celebrate this particular victory. I'll try to get in some voices from the people who are also present here and ask them what this victory really means, because a lot of people will tell us that this means that the electoral victory really makes Prime Minister Narendra Modi more stronger and perhaps invincible in coming years. सर आप बताइए, ये विक्ट्री जो गुजरात और हिमाचल प्रदेश का है, कितना इम्पोर्टेंट आपको लगता है बीजेपी के लिए?
बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है जी. बहुत अच्छा मैसेज गया है कि मोदी जी ने जो दो कार्य करे थे, नोटबंदी और जीएसटी के बाद भी जनता ने उनको एक अच्छा रिजल्ट दिया है. जनता खुश है और अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं मोदी जी, और आने वाले समय में भी अच्छा काम करेंगे.
क्या लगता है आपको, क्या रीजन है जनता ने भाजपा को चुना कांग्रेस के मुकाबले?
भाजपा को इसलिए चुना कि भाजपा अच्छा काम कर रही है, इसलिए चुना. 70 सालों से कांग्रेस ने राज किया था. आप देखो, मोदी जी जिस देश में भी जाते हैं, विदेश में जाते हैं, तो अपनी संस्कृति को लेकर जाते हैं. लेकिन उन्होंने कहीं भी, तब भी कांग्रेस के राज में प्रधानमंत्री विदेश जाते थे तो अपनी बात कहीं भी नहीं रखते थे, और मोदी जी पूरे विदेश में जाते हैं तो इस तरह से बात रखते हैं कि उनमें एक दम होता है, एक वजन होता है, एक काम करने वाले व्यक्ति हैं मोदी जी.
Well, there you see, whoever you speak to, Modi, Modi is the chant out here. Everyone is crediting this election to the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And that's perhaps what the guiding factor in this election has been. It's the popularity of the Prime Minister alone, which is really making BJP win election after election, despite demonetization, despite anti-incumbency, and despite other factors which may be going not in favor of BJP.
Right.
Back to the studios.
Thanks very much, Khalid. Appreciate you joining us from the BJP office in New Delhi. Raghavendra, the BJP, of course, crediting the Prime Minister. The Congress is giving a lot of reasons, as they have in the past, for the loss. We saw Rahul Gandhi enter the Parliament building today. He didn't speak to reporters. What have you picked up from the Congress camp?
Well, yes, the Congress camp may not be really celebrating, but they are feeling a lot reassured following this performance, because the campaign which they ran, the campaign which Rahul Gandhi orchestrated in Gujarat, it was clearly a much stronger campaign from what we have seen from the Congress in the past few elections, particularly post-2014 Lok Sabha elections. And despite the BJP managing to retain power in Gujarat, Congress is pleased with the fact that it has managed to put up a fight, and also the fact that this election result is coinciding with Rahul Gandhi's elevation as the party president. Now that is what is being seen as a very important development, because the Congress might have lost the elections to BJP in Gujarat, but clearly the manner in which they have managed to put up a fight, the manner in which there was a time during early trends today when both the parties were running neck and neck, and it almost looked palpable. It was almost palpable that, it could go down to the wire. But yes, the BJP has managed to win Gujarat. But Congress is not too disappointed. In fact, they see a ray of hope in this, and they see a momentum building up for them in the run-up to the 2019
He's already in hope we live. It's good to see the glass half full, but the Congress has to make its own calculations. Pragya Jha, what's the mood like at the BJP office, and are they talking about the next Chief Minister of Gujarat, and who would that be?
Here at the BJP office in Gandhinagar is quite cheered up ever since the trends have sort of settled and are in favour of the Bharatiya Janata Party. They're all set to form the governments once again for yet another term in Gujarat here. Apart from that, for the Congress, it seems their permutation and combinations have worked by way of trio. Jignesh, Alpesh and Hardik. So the caste factor bringing in and appeasing the patidars has worked, but specifically for rural Gujarat, as Saurashtra has fared well in terms and in favour of the Congress. However, for the BJP, all the urban areas in Gujarat have voted for the BJP. Now, interestingly, even Surat city seems to have gone in favour of the Bharatiya Janata Party, whereas a few months after demonetization and after GST, the implementation of GST, there was uproar, there was discontent that was rife amongst the business community, the diamond traders of Surat, and the feeling was such that this time around, with patidars also being in great numbers in Surat, the votes might redirect to the Congress. However, according to the results that we see, the urban Suratiyas have voted for the BJP, and it seems that, for the Congress, the new voters have wanted to experiment with the Congress, and hence the vote share has increased and come up to close to 42%, whereas even traditionally, Congress does manage to attract a vote percentage between 30 to 38% in Gujarat.
I think that's a fair point by Pragya. But the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to reach the Bharatiya Janata Party's headquarters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to reach Bharatiya Janata Party's headquarters in a short time. He's about to leave from the Parliament Office complex, and in the next 5 or 6 minutes, I don't know whether there'll be a public speech or not, but it's going to be a public function. No, I don't think it's Amit Shah. I think Amit Shah will be there to receive the Prime Minister, and I don't think they would be allowing this on the Prime Minister inside.
Whatever happened to the no firecrackers law in New Delhi? Rajasthan unit may not get to celebrate next year, so they're doing it for Gujarat, it seems. But good numbers for the BJP so far. They have won Himachal Pradesh as expected, and let's talk about who could possibly be the Chief Minister in Gujarat.
I think that's $1 million question. That's for you.
I think I won't be surprised if they repeat with Vijay Rupani and Nitin Patel combination, because that's the local leadership with which they have gone to election. Probably 6 months down the line, or say they might have a change, because they'll have to adjust Vijay Rupani somewhere. Otherwise, it would be a very awkward position. You have a chief minister there, and then who has won the election, that person can't be put in the cabinet, and that person can't be given any organizational positions also right now. So where will you place? And after all, if you would be removing the present leadership and bringing in new leadership in the government, so then it would mean that you are endorsing the fact that your government was a flop. So I think they would probably they should wait for some time.
I'm very curious to know what Sharad thinks, because he named Yogi Adityanath in the last election when no one was talking about him, who ended up becoming the chief minister.
But here I agree with Arun, because as he says, it's a referendum on a government's performance. And since BJP has won, that means the people have endorsed Vijay Rupani's performance. So in this situation, why would BJP replace him? Means this will set a very wrong precedent, removing a chief minister.
But you know, Sharad, it tells me two things. One, BJP is the new Congress, where one leader from the center can turn around a state.
Right.
The problem in 1670s Gandhi's did. So if you don't need a leader there, you don't project a leader. But Rahul is not that sort of a leader, where he does not have a leader. He has failed to turn around a state. He worked in Punjab. Amrinder Singh was there, he turned it around. You had Veerbhadra Singh last time around, when he was about to leave the party, he turned around Himachal Pradesh. Even Karnataka. Pondicherry, you had the former MOS Prime Minister's office, Mr. Narayan Swamy. So wherever he has a regional leader, he can turn it around, but he has failed to turn around states where there has been no state leadership. And I think that's the difference between the portfolio of Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. You can say that, you know, Modi's portfolio goes far back than Rahul Gandhi, or he's got far wider range of experiences. But the fact of the matter is, he too has been in politics from 2003 onwards, Mr. Gandhi.
Yeah. Right. And many are saying that there's a hypocrisy in the way this is being judged. Narendra Modi is, as somebody's tweeted, Narendra Modi is being seen as the brighter child. He scores 90%. You're like, you should have scored 95. That's what you can get. But Rahul Gandhi scores 37, you're like, you passed. Well done.
I kind of agree with you.
No, it is not fair sometimes on Mr. Modi. But as Kartikeya said, I mean, whenever there is a local leadership, Rahul has done well. But whereas Narendra Modi, as he proved notably in Haryana and Maharashtra, where the BJP, in Maharashtra in particular, where the BJP never had fought an election on its own ever. Just stormed. I mean, as much as Uddhav and Aditya Thackeray make noise nowadays, they know that they have become fairly inconsequential under the outside Mumbai, sorry. And but Narendra Modi can win elections across the country. I'm sure he can pull off a couple of southern states also if you want. Karnataka, they actually have.
But that has been an Achilles heel of Bharatiya Janata Party.
No, Karnataka, I think they'll win.
The jury is still out on that.
But they have a proper local leadership in Karnataka, unlike, say, I mean, Yediyurappa is there, Anant Kumar is there. I mean, they might hate each other, but
again, local leadership. I think that is the key.
I just want to make a point on this issue. See, BJP got it right. They had strong central leadership. They had a face in the form of Narendra Modi, and they had good organizational structure there also. They didn't have a very effective state leadership. But at least they got these two things right. The ideal combination would be when you have somebody who is a trusted face, who is leading from the front, you have effective state leadership, and you have good organizational structure. So BJP got 2 out of 3 things right. That's why they didn't score so well also. But Congress, the problem with Congress was that they neither had the effective state leadership, nor did they have the organizational structure, a well-oiled organization. So they failed, they couldn't get they had Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi was, I think he did hold an appeal in there. So they 3 out of 3 they got only 1 factor right, while BJP got 2 factors right. So that's why I think this is the kind of result which we are seeing.
Popularity is important, but so is domestic mandate, and I think someone sitting in Beijing would appreciate it the best. Atul, we only last month spoke about how Xi Jinping has consolidated his position after having emerged as the undisputed leader in the party Congress, and that gave him the license to push for reform and push for his policy as he saw it fit. Narendra Modi is as good, if not better, in terms of how he stands domestically, how he's poised domestically right now. And that is also a message, would you say, that the world is looking at, that in terms of when you look at the leaders across the world, there's a Donald Trump who's embattled in his own domestic sphere. There's an Angela Merkel who's won an election but hasn't been able to form a coalition. You've seen other leaders in Britain, in Europe. Narendra Modi stands out in that sense, would you say?
Well, he stands out very prominently, and in China there is a recognition of, Modi being recognized, quote unquote, a strong leader. And the Chinese are very familiar because personality cult has been common here starting from Mao, and we see some kind of a revival of that. It dipped a bit, and then Xi Jinping, it's bounced back again. So in some ways, from the Chinese, they see in Modi a mirror image of Xi Jinping. So that's a perception of Prime Minister Modi. But at the same time, just as Xi Jinping, the very fact that he's projecting himself so strongly is also to mask a weakness within, because he has problems within the PLA and others, and unless he consolidates power, he can't sort that out. So the very fact that you accumulate power itself is not necessarily a recognition of your strength, but perhaps masks a weakness. In the case of Modi, he's won almost single-handedly what's happened, and I agree with your other guest who's saying that from the BJP's point of view, organization skill matters, and they outclassed the Congress in that. But at the same
I'm really
time,
sorry,
if these are the
Mr. Anisha, sorry, I'm interrupting you for a minute. You stay with me. We are joined by Dr. Subramanian Swamy, who joins us directly to the studio. Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for joining us. My question to you is, though the BJP has set the target of 150, it has got a very comfortable majority in Gujarat. What has worked for Bharatiya Janata time, even after staying in power for 22 years, sir, in Gujarat?
Well, first of all, I think we had an excellent organization, which really we have to thank the Parivar organization like RSS, Vishnu Parishad and Vidyarthi Parishad and so on. And at every booth we had committed workers, which was quite unlike Congress, which buys volunteers to serve at the booth, they pay them and so on. So that lack of commitment of the booth workers is a very important factor in why BJP, once it wins an election, it keeps winning. So I think that one. Second, the faith in Modi as a leader has not diminished. He has, done something very good during the campaign. He said, if there is something which is hurt you on GST and Notebandi, I will look at it and set it right. And I think that day the campaign really changed. And you saw hardly any other agitation in Surat and other places. So this faith in Modi as a man who feels for them, and he's after all also from Gujarat, that had also had a major factor. Third is, of course, we got some bonus from the behavior of Kapil Sibal and Mani Shankar Iyer. And that particularly on Ram Temple, there was sentiments were hurt, and they could not be reversed by no amount of temple visiting by Rahul Gandhi.
So are you saying,
I think three of them, it's a big failure of Congress actually.
Dr. Swamy, you are saying that that niche comment by Mani Shankar Iyer and Kapil Sibal's remark on temple was a Maut Ka Saudagar 2.0 version in Gujarat.
Yes, it was a kind of a tipping point. It's not that we might have been around that time, perhaps at 95, and it has taken us over 100 now, or we might have been at 90. That time there was concern, and that's why the Prime Minister has spent so much time campaigning. But these two remarks gave us a bonus. It was what is called as help at the margin. It's not a substitute for political work, but something that adds value to your campaign, because we have been saying that Congress is anti-Hindu, and that came out very well.
Do you think this win paves the way for 2019, or are these two different battles?
I think 2019 we will improve, because we have seen that is nobody can, no state or no public of the India can be taken for granted. I think that sort of a confidence that we had, oh, we are going to go on winning. This time we have to really fight hard and make it. That's going to lead to a lot of improvement. I think the Prime Minister will feel less fetters on him, and he'll be less doubtful about what he needs to do. He needs to do a lot of economic reforms. He needs to ensure that the national sentiment which has grown is not compromised or diluted either in Kashmir or in dealing with Pakistan. And of course, those corrupt people whom I have been fighting single-handedly so far. Modi quoted Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi being on bail. That's a National Herald case which I did alone. The party didn't allow me, help me at all. Same thing, I'm waiting for Chidambaram to be sent to jail in Aircel Maxis. There too, there's no help from the government at all.
Dr. Swami.
So I think there he needs to see that there are no blocks put on the CBI.
Sure. Dr. Swami, my final question to you, sir. What's your advice for Rahul Gandhi?
Well, see, Rahul Gandhi should appear to be sincere. Now, this Hindu thing, he appeared totally insincere. He says he was Shiva Bhakt, and but he refuses to say whether he's a Hindu or not. Why? He was asked this specific question, he has avoided it. There is a doubt because there was an entry by his right-hand man in the office who filled out a register saying that he's not a Hindu. So if he had not gone to the temple, whether he's a Hindu or not would not have arisen. But because he started going to temples and saying I'm a Shiva Bhakt, then I think it was when the doubt was created, he should have come up front and said I'm a Hindu, which he did not say. And that is, that lack of sincerity appears to be in his campaign, because the soft Hindutva approach was too much of a somersault, too fast. That will not convince anybody.
Right. Subramaniam Swami, thanks very much for joining us. Francois, to you, did Rahul Gandhi score a self-goal by visiting the temples that he visited? Francois Gauthier, was it miscalculation? Yes. Was it miscalculation on the part of the Congress party to push with this soft Hindutva strategy?
So I have a different opinion. I think the Congress didn't do as bad as we expected, and this is a warning sign for the BJP not to be complacent like Mr. Vajpayee was in 2004, because India was shining and the BJP was absolutely sure to win the general elections. I think, when Mr. Modi was in Gujarat, Gujarat was doing very well because Mr. Modi is a hard, dedicated, worker. But Gujarat is not doing as well at the moment. The other thing is that, the BJP was elected in 2014 by the Hindus, not by the Christians, not by the Muslims, by a majority of Hindus from the Brahmins.
And we'll try and fix the line there. Images of celebrations at the BJP office.
Palki, I was just thinking, and there are a couple of issues which have become, very, very evident in these elections. Like, for example, the way the tale of these three boys were being romanticized, it did not work. GST did not click. The temple point became it became a tipping point. Certain things which we felt might work for the Congress did not. Kushan, you wanted to come in?
I want to come in. I think Hardik did scare the BJP. He may not have had the final.
But didn't do the damage.
He done some damage. Yeah? I don't think the Congress would have even been in play. Psychological damage as well as some damage to the number of seats. I don't think the Congress would have been in play if it wasn't for Hardik. I don't think Jignesh or Alpesh, they came in later. Hardik did, at least in 2015, did scare. I mean, they made the BJP change the CM.
But Kushan, what play? Congress has come down to 68.
No, that's fine. But he did scare it. I mean, come on, the BJP had to put out the heavy hitters. In 2015, the BJP was scared enough to change the CM in that state. When after his protest, And he got a lot of traction. Now things changed after that, after what Modi did. But it would be, I will not write, you should write off Hardik Patel at our peril. I think he still has a role to play in Gujarat politics. Whether he'll join a party.
So I would just like to stop you for a minute. Rajnath Singh is addressing the press.
राजनीतिक पार्टी को तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी को, क्योंकि सामान्यतः सारे देश में यह धारणा बनी हुई है कि इस हिंदुस्तान में गुड गवर्नेंस देने वाली यदि कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है तो वह भारतीय जनता पार्टी है।
राहुल की अध्यक्षता में पहली हार किस ढंग से देखते हैं?
अभी तो कुछ नहीं बोलूंगा क्योंकि अभी हाल में ही वो अध्यक्ष बने हैं, लेकिन नहीं तो सिर मुड़ाते ही ओले पड़े, लेकिन छोड़िए
बीजेपी का भी ग्राफ गिरा है। बीजेपी का भी ग्राफ गिरा है।
So Kushan, you were making a point.
Yeah, I think Hardik had a role to play. I think without Hardik, the Congress would not have been in play in this election. As I said, I would write Hardik off.
Okay, tell me one thing, because ultimately Victor takes it all. Do you really believe, Dilip, starting from you, niche word used by Manishankar Iyer, low life, he says that he's given the explanation, and the remarks on the Ayodhya that the judgment or the proceeding should be deferred by Kapil Sibal. Was that a tipping point, do you think, as an outsider?
Well, I can't really.
Because Doctor, so I think he was being very honest. He said we were at 90s. He didn't even say 92. He said it just gave us that edge on the margin.
Well, I can't really comment if it was the tipping point, but I have to say it was very inappropriate at the time to have someone as senior as Mr. Manishankar Iyer call the Prime Minister niche, because niche is a word which is really low life. I mean, it's not most appropriate thing. So, I mean, I think there's certain comments like right through the election and before, it came to a level where it became a bit of a gutter fight, a street fight, and that is never appreciated. I'm glad they came out of that, because I mean, the BJP certainly has a very productive agenda for the country and for Gujarat. So you don't need to come down to that level. And I think, yeah, some of the repercussions the Congress did feel. But what also helped the Congress was that Rahul Gandhi very quickly, sort of made...
But that was damage control after damage done.
Of course it was damage control.
Damage was done immediately. I mean, within 20 minutes of their statement appearing on television, every Gujarati had a video on WhatsApp of that niche comment. So,
because I remember, Palki, in Bihar elections, one odd statement by Mohan Bhagwat about reservation, Amit Shah for next 30 days had to give one statement every day that they are not against reservation. And Mohan Bhagwat has spoken conceptually about the issue.
So from this example and from the Hardik Patel example, what my inference is that the BJP is a party that doesn't leave anything to chance.
No.
When they see a problem, they go the whole hog to ensure that the problem is eliminated.
And I think, getting Nitin Patel, who is a very strong Patel leader himself, getting him in, and there's also a chance that he might become CM of Gujarat ahead of 2019. I mean, if Mr. Rupani is accommodated elsewhere, could have a role to play. I mean, the BJP has realized that they've lost some support inside that community, which has been, since the old days, a massive bulwark of the BJP support in that state. So they know they have to, and I think with Amit Shah and Narendra Modi, they look at the next election as well. They're not just looking at 2019, they're also looking at, what will it be? It will be 2022 for Gujarat. You have to look at the next election. This one is done and dusted. Now to win the next one and the next one. How do you keep the election machine rolling? And
but a lot of people say that because of that aggressive electoral campaigning, aggressive electoral approach, somehow the focus which should be there at the administrative level has suffered at the top.
Which is why I think the BJP themselves and Mr. Modi has also spoken about this. Should we go for a 5-year fixed election cycle or have fixed election dates like the United States has? Which possibly would be better, but even in a place like that, even with fixed election cycles in the US, the presidential elections are fought over 2.5 years, 3 years. So it's not as if that will change matters much.
Right.
But in democracy, I think you're always perpetually in campaign mode.
And so you should be. I mean, you know, you are answerable to the public. You have told the public that you're going to be doing things for them. You come to a time in an election where you can actually come forward and say, look, we've done this for you. So I think it's very vital for the public and the nation and the people of the country to understand that the people who you voted for are delivering for you at all aspects of your life. I mean, housing is a big problem in urban India. That demographic of 25 years to 35 years age that you were talking about. They want homes to live. They want their children to be educated.
They want jobs.
They want jobs. They're not concerned with who's living next to you or what caste they are. And this is a significant growing demographic of the Indian people. So, I mean, that is being addressed, and that is important, that they understand in cities like Bombay that you know, a metro is being built, that public transport is being addressed.
You know, there's a very interesting update which has come, Palki. I must bring this to the notice of our colleagues, that the South and Central Gujarat has rallied behind Bharatiya Janata Party, where the GST or the campaign by the Congress Party was done from the beginning itself. The gains of the Congress has been in Saurashtra and Kutch region, as you were pointing out, which is Patidar areas, which you rightly pointed out. They have gained there. But they were not able to gain in South and Central Gujarat. It has rallied behind Prime Minister Modi, and urban voters have increased for Bharatiya Janata Party.
That's true.
Yes.
And you look at GST coming in, and you know, Rahul Gandhi tends to overplay his hand at times. You know, Gabbar Singh tax, great line, kept on using, and people said, maaf karo yaar. Same with Soot Boot. Soot Boot was a badly used line, in my opinion.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yes, no, please.
I mean, I thought, for example, this Gabbar Singh tax, to call it Gabbar Singh tax, was really so immature. I mean, Gabbar Singh was a dacoit. So what are you trying to say? I mean, there's certain things that come across as so inappropriate.
And juvenile.
I mean, you know, GST is a very, very important move, in my opinion. And contrary to what a lot of people have been picking holes in it, there is a huge business community that is going along with it, because we know that it's not going to happen overnight. Like I said earlier, it was never promised as a magic wand.
And it's a tough decision. No one likes to pay taxes. You're making these
and we like to
unaccountable.
respect the people who have implemented this. I say to you that the Congress, the UPA government, was there for 10 years. They had a renowned economist as the Prime Minister. They had everything. Why didn't they implement it? The stage was set.
And Mr. Chidambaram has been writing articles and saying, I would have done GST better, GST should have been done like this, but he didn't get GST done.
Then they had the
BJP didn't allow it, because then at that point of time, Narendra Modi as the CM was the biggest detractor. That has to be accepted.
I agree, but he could have pushed it across. I mean, if you really want to push it, you can push a reform across.
We're looking at, I want to get in Atul and AJ. I'm told that he has to leave. Atul, we're looking at the issues that may have influenced this election. What's interesting is that Doklam was brought up in the course of the campaign. The possible influence of Pakistan and Pakistan trying to help the Congress party win this election was also brought up by none other than the Prime Minister. How did the international press see this? The fact that a state election has the discourse ruled by not just national but international issues?
No, I think this is something which has started of late. I'm talking of last 1 year or so. When foreign policy and security policy becomes part of the electoral narrative. If you recall, just before the UP elections, we had the surgical strikes as one of the campaign points, and posters were put out in places like Lucknow praising the soldiers, etc. So, that particular line is selling electorally, and Prime Minister Modi has personally used it. And Doklam, again, to many of us, I think to all Indians, the way we got out of the situation is something which was credible, and we were not second-bested by China on that, at least till now. So that is, again, something which has been brought into the election campaign. I think what the BJP and especially the Prime Minister has done is broadened the agenda for winning votes, and foreign policy and security policy have become a part of that.
Let's also take a look at how social media is reacting, since we've spoken so much about social media and the role it plays in electoral politics. Mohammed Saleh standing by. Saleh, over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Palki. Now, this, of course, is an election that has attracted a lot of attention on social media. Let's actually take a look at some of the tweets that have been put out by people congratulating the BJP. So let's start with this Mahesh Giri. Congratulations to all of our Karyakartas for a massive victory of the BJP for India in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh. It's a win for Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's development-oriented agenda and President Amit Shah ji's strategic leadership. Let's also take a look at some of the other tweets. Now, Pon Radhakrishnan, who is a union minister, he said, Gujarat verdict and Himachal Pradesh's victory result of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's pro-poor schemes and our beloved BJP for India National President Shri Amit Shah ji's poll strategy. It's clear now 130 crore people of India are ready to march with our Prime Minister to make Bharat as Vishwaguru. So this is what Pon Radhakrishnan has had to say. And also an interesting bit of a congratulatory message that's coming from Shatrughan Sinha, who, let's point out to our viewers, is not exactly someone who's looked at Prime Minister Modi very favourably. He's been a bit of a critic, but he's put out a congratulatory tweet where he said, congratulations to the Honourable Prime Minister Narendra Modi for his untiring efforts, sincerity, energy and his magic, which remains intact. Congrats also to the great strategist, National BJP President Amit Shah, and to Arun Jaitley for our comprehensive victory in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat as well. Jai BJP. This is what Shatrughan Sinha has said. He's also written more. He said, congratulations also to our emerging young brigade, JP Nadda, Anurag Thakur, for the brilliant success in Himachal Pradesh. Sincerely hope and wish that they get the proper placing so as to lead Himachal Pradesh to a glorious future. And he's also written a bit more where he said, in true national spirit and sportsman spirit, we must also congratulate the Indian National Congress and its young and new president Rahul Gandhi, whose performance has surpassed all exit poll expectations and who has given Zabardast results despite the odds and in spite of the handicaps. Long live democracy. This is what Shatrughan Sinha has in fact had to tweet. And let's also take a look as to how some of the other people have in fact commented on this great victory for the BJP. Message of people is clear with Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh verdict. Nation has complete faith in Pradhan Sevak Shri Narendra Modi ji. Development politics by BJP for the creation of New India has completely rejected the divisive politics of the INC. This is what Vipul Goyal, who is a cabinet minister with the BJP, has said. Congratulations also to the BJP volunteers and the BJP National President Amit Shah ji for clear majority on a positive campaign in both the states. So these are some of the tweets that have been put out. Let's also take a look as to how international media has covered this. For instance, Al Jazeera has said Narendra Modi's BJP set to win Gujarat state election. This is clearly an acknowledgement by the international media about what is happening and how critical the state of Gujarat is. And also let's take a look at some of the other media who've covered. BJP crosses the key 100 lead mark in India's state polls. This is what the BBC has had to say. And also the New York Times as well has taken cognizance, where they've said 3 Indian television channels have called Gujarat state polls in favour of Prime Minister Modi's party. So this effectively is the kind of buzz. Everyone on Twitter in India and of course across the world, a lot of them are talking about this massive victory. This is something that was expected, but what was perhaps not expected was the kind of fight that was put forth by the Indian National Congress and by Rahul Gandhi. So back to Palki and Karthikeya.
Yes, that is a point. More so in Himachal Pradesh than in Gujarat. If you look at the vote share, 48% for the BJP, 42% for the Congress party in the state of Himachal Pradesh, which is interesting.
In fact, it's surprising more than interesting, because BJP was thinking that it will be a sweep. A lot of people said that Veerbhadra will not be able to hold. But I think it also goes on to say that the states where Congress has got leaders, despite the fact
that the states where Rahul Gandhi stays away, the Congress is a fighting chance.
I'll put it in another.
The states where Rahul Gandhi really puts his might, the Congress loses invariably.
I'll put it in another way. Like for example, in Manipur, despite a BJP sweep, Ibobi Singh, despite being CM for 15 years, still came out to be a party with the single largest number. Absolutely. This has happened in many other states, but BJP cobbled it up because they had the muscle and there are other organizations left which Ibobi did not have. So I think it's a learning curve of the Congress. If Mr. Gandhi does not have powerful places in the state, he is not like Mr. Modi who will turn the elections around. He right now at this stage of his career, he needs people like Amrinder, he needs people like Siddaramaiah.